Welcome, and thank you for joining for another whiskey review. Today we're going to take a look at the Canongate 11-year-old single barrel American whiskey. Dustin, what are we drinking?
All right, Mike, so this is Heaven Hill Bourbon.
Nice.
So think Elijah Craig barrel proof.
Yes.
That started its life maturing in the state of Kentucky, as bourbon should, and then got sent over in the barrel to Scotland to finish maturing. And so we're going to get kind of what happens when you bring the climate, the temperature down, the volatility down, and let something continue aging. And obviously, Mike, it's definitely light for bourbon. That's that 11 years.
Filled on 5/31/2009, American style dating. And bottled in 2/19/2021. This one comes in at 61.6% ABV.
I didn't even catch that. It was on my birthday, huh? Oh,
There you go, Dustin.
there you go, man. Mike cannot pour.
Never.
It just
My
whistled all up and down there.
My $3,000 bottles. Same
It happens
thing.
there too.
The labels are full.
I've got labels that have have been dyed from whiskey dripping down from Mike, and I'm like, all right, that wasn't expensive.
I'm a barbarian.
So, Mike, we always try to mix in the bourbons with the scotches.
And this time we really did.
We really did. And, the problem is, we're not bourbon tubers, so it's hard for us to be the first to market on some of this kind of interesting stuff out there. It's hard for us to kind of, bring you guys unique stuff. So when I saw this, I was like, man, we got an opportunity for something unique. So I'm really glad we can get this to you guys.
Man, this is so vanilla. What I would think of bourbon first fill bourbon scotch forward.
Yeah.
Beautiful oaky vanilla.
But it's got a lot of fruitiness on there, Mike.
In the back,
It is really fruity.
That's the secondary for sure. You're right, though.
There's a lot of there's the spice from that charred oak.
But it's the fruits are pineapple. You know what I mean? They're not quite tropical, but they're not red fruits. They're not they're not apples and stuff like that. It's pineapple. It's apricot. It's not Elijah Craig barrel proof. Although this is Elijah Craig barrel proof.
This is, yeah. I mean, it really has a lot of those elements.
Yeah, I tell you what. I mean, it's what the wood did to this whiskey. It softened it up considerably.
The caramel's still here, but it is subdued.
Cold caramel.
Substantially.
Cold, hard caramel.
There you go, yeah.
It's solidified.
Yeah, it's not that drizzle.
It's November and a fair that just left everything there.
Man, I tell you what, I was a little concerned that 11 years might come off young here because of the Scotland aging. Maybe it slows it down.
I agreed.
And I was a little nervous. Concerns are completely gone when she knows it.
No, it's different. It's not nearly as spicy as like an Elijah Craig. It's not nearly as oak-driven or anything, but it comes off like a complex 11-year-old scotch from that perspective.
Has none of the darker notes you get on those 12-year-old bourbons sometimes, but...
Very light and vibrant.
But at the same time, though, it's intense.
Yeah, no, I mean, you can tell it doesn't jump out on the nose as too aggressive, but you can tell it's high ABV.
Yeah, there's a hint of nuttiness here. If you want to call it peanut, maybe. I'm just going to say it's slightly nutty. Mm-hmm. It's, again, reminiscent of Heaven Hill. The distillate character that we're used to, it's telling me that that's not inherently only and exclusively the result of their rickhouses. That said, this did age for some time in Kentucky, but apparently not enough for them to call it bourbon. So I'm guessing that means it was not in those casks long in Kentucky.
It's funny. It is Elijah Craig, but it is completely different.
Exactly.
You ever see Spy vs. Spy?
Yeah, but it's been a long time.
Well, again, one was white, one was black. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And bourbon version of it is spicy and oaky and dark. And this is light, dense, but fruity. You know what I mean? But again, the pineapple's there and the vanilla's there, and it's Elijah Craig rather than dark oak, chocolate, and char and Elijah Craig.
Yeah.
It's just they put on a different suit. Mm-hmm. Every time I've seen Elijah Craig before, it was at a club at night. This is Sunday at church, if you will, at least on the nose.
Oh man,
Can you pick it up on the palate?
It's bourbon, but it's fruitier. And then, oh buddy, sit back, relax, because here comes oak, spice, a little nuttiness. charred oak comes through. But yeah, again, everything on here is on that softer side of the bourbon. Again, it's the intensity and density of that 12 years of maturation you get in bourbon's not here. But it's also not that like 6-7-year-old bourbon where you're kind of sitting there going, it's not old enough. It needs a little more. To me, this kind of is what the 7-year Heaven Hill bottled and bond would be if they'd given that cask strength and I'm getting like some really nice vanilla oak that just came through. I'm actually still picking up some cool stuff on my cheeks.
Vanilla oak, a slight little mint to it, which is something you didn't say. And you know what? You know what's interesting? I picked up just on the tail end of the nose. I'm picking up on the palate. It's vanilla cherry. I've never had.
That's exactly what it is.
I've never had that before. It's like a vanilla Coke and a cherry.
But it's not that Buffalo Trace like medicinal cherry. It's
it's a white cherry.
White,
it's a white.
Yeah.
What's a white cherry that's white chocolate covered?
That's my entire mouth is right now. That's what that is. I was just sitting here thinking to myself, what is that fruit?
I've never said that before.
That's the best way to describe it, Mike. White vanilla cherry. Like, it would go perfect with ice cream.
It's so dessert.
Or go on, like, some chocolate cake. I don't know, man.
This is such an interesting take on this whiskey.
Dude, incredibly different. That finish is unbelievable.
You know, I thought in my mind
better.
It meant less age, less maturation because of less contact with the wood. It just, and something I've said about whiskeys, bourbon casks, matured scotches before, it caressed and was gentle with the whiskey.
It was a softer aging.
11 years is plenty.
Yeah.
Was it a first fill barrel? Oh, it had to be, right?
It's bourbon. It's not even no, it's not a first fill. It's
a virgin oak.
It's virgin oak.
Virgin, that's what
charred virgin oak.
Yeah. It's amazing how much different that is.
It really is. And I don't know what the mash bill on this one was. I have heard it's a fairly high corn mash bill. So I could be wrong when we say it's Elijah Craig, but it definitely tastes like a Heaven Hill product. But it doesn't. And that's what's so cool about it.
The best way I can describe it, it's the same dude. He's just wearing a different colored suit. Or it's the same dude 30 years later. You know what I mean? Like, there is something here, like the DNA, the core of it is consistent. And everything else is different.
Identical twins, but they were separated at birth, man. That's what it is. It's identical twins. They're separated not at birth. They were separated at 3. They still kind of remember each other. But, one grew up in,
instantly recognizable.
One grew up in, the UK. The other one grew up in the US. One says apartments. One says flats. It's
oh, man. This is... You know what? I question your choice in bringing this in our lineup today.
You did. You were like... I was like, I had to bring a bourbon. You're like, but you could have brought... I was like, man, I want to bring something unique.
Yeah, but unique and also a very, very good whiskey.
Yeah.
All right, so we add some water to it. It gets a little oakier. It's more recognizable as a bourbon now. You're getting more bourbon notes.
The caramel's starting to kind of creep in there.
Caramel and cherry, yeah, something like that. But again, that cherry is just a white chocolate cherry.
I don't get the cherry on the nose. It's that finish.
It's right in the back of it. You've got a super dig back there. And you got to get past all that vanilla and all that oak. Because there is a substantial amount of oak for 11 years.
I'm starting to get some chocolates coming through here now.
But that cherry's back there.
I'm even getting like a hint of toffee.
And on the nose, it's the only cherry that's an actual cherry. Palate, it's just a white cherry. White chocolate cherry.
Yeah, the fruit comes down a lot on the nose with water. Much more dessert. But it's also like got like a... I talk about custard a lot on scotches, where it's like, it's not a donut filled with, it's custard-filled donut. It's like that kind of sort of sweet, sort of sour kind of thing going on.
Yeah, this is...
I never get that on bourbon. I'm getting it heavy here because it's just not quite as charred.
What a beautiful mix. Why not send it to Scotland? And why not send Scotch to America? Why not?
Oh, man, can you imagine, like, an 8-year-old sherry bomb that spent 4 years in the U.S.? Oh, that could be something special.
From Glendronach or someone like that, Macallan.
Yes, please.
A Speyside, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Abelau or someone like that, something cast strength.
Instead of having a Boona, where I think it's still a little too young, send that over to the U.S., get a couple years in our volatile climate, see what happens. I think you'd be impressed.
If it's one thing we're known for in America, it's being volatile and hot.
I think the Latin Americans maybe get a little of that too, but yeah.
Yeah, very, very impressive whiskey. This is my first time with this. Actually, it's the only whiskey tonight that we're going to take a look at that I haven't had before. But it isn't an overly complicated whiskey, but it's delicious and full and rich in the flavors.
It's got enough complexity to keep you pondering, but it's not crazy. Now,
I'm done wondering at this point. It's got a few things. It's a little basic, but it is an absolutely amazing take. To me, I would almost want to get a bottle of this and put it with my Elijah Craig barrel proof 12-year-olds. Mm-hmm. Just as the vanilla to this chocolate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Maybe blend them.
Yeah.
That might actually be really good.
That might be really good. That's the last night. That's the last pour of the night.
That might be a review coming. Not today, but we might do that at some point. Well, Mike, I should point out two things here. One, I've definitely been enjoying this, as you can tell. And two, oddly enough, it started like here. Like, it did not start very full. I don't know what they're doing here, but
substantial piece of glass.
It is. That's cool cork.
Gives you good information too.
Yeah,
it's a nice label.
I'll tell you what, I like what these guys are doing. It's the first time I've had any of their independent bottling. So.
Canongate came out of the gates hot.
Cool one, yeah.
The cannon out of the gate.
Boom.
Dustin, where as far as the whiskey score on this one?
Mike.
Allow me.
All right.
I've been going back and forth with two numbers, 88 and 89. I'm going to take it at 89 because there is nothing wrong with this whiskey. It is cask strength. It is beautiful, bold, rich bourbon. Oak. Spices taken way down. A spirit that I like, as we've mentioned before. Nothing I don't like about this whiskey. A little simple. I'm going to go with the high end. What you got my score?
88. I was dead on 88 from start to finish. It
does something and does it well. Like a good guard in football.
If it could have somehow gotten that little bit of bite that's so common in bourbon down just 5%, I would have been right there with you. If they got it down 10%, we could be talking special. But excellent bourbon. One negative here, Mike. Price.
Give it to me.
$187.
Worth it. To have one
for the uniqueness of it, absolutely worth it. I would not buy a second, but
it's hard when Elijah Craig barrel proofs are what, $70?
Yeah.
So that's 3 times almost. You know what that is? Not quite. 200.
Yeah, I mean
80%, something like 200.
But this is a single barrel. You're never going to see this exact profile again. I hope we see more whiskeys like this, and I hope these guys have got a bunch of these barrels.
If you can find me another one at the store, I will take that right now. That impressed with that whiskey.
Online, buddy. You can order it online. Bet you it's still available.
There we go. Anyway, those are our thoughts on this particular one. If you guys had a chance to try this one, let us know what you guys think. And Dustin, until next time, what do we wish the folks?
Happy experimental drinking.
See you then.